Got an old Lincoln penny? Don't ignore it. A tiny detail like a missing mint mark or a double die could mean your penny is worth thousands. Let's see if you have one of the rare ones. Imagine holding a single penny from 1987, something so ordinary that you wouldn't even think twice about it. You toss it into your change jar, maybe use it to round up a purchase, or watch it roll under your car seat, never realizing that one small cent could be worth more than some people's annual salaries. Yet that's exactly the case with a few extraordinary 1987 Lincoln cents, coins that have sold for shocking prices, ranging from $52,000 all the way up to a staggering $130,000 at major coin auctions. These aren't ancient relics or coins made of gold or silver. They're the same copper-plated zinc pennies you handle every day. The only difference is in their hidden details, their condition, and the small minting secrets that make them priceless to collectors. The 1987 Lincoln cent belongs to a generation of coins that many people overlook, but collectors know that era hides some of the most exciting treasures in modern U.S. coinage. The design, created by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, had already been in use for nearly 8 decades by that time. It features Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse, a symbol of strength and unity, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that itself would continue until 2008. Though billions of 1987 pennies were minted, only a few of them turned out to be rare enough to command life-changing prices today. To understand why the 1987 penny can be worth so much, we have to look at how it was made. By that year, the U.S. Mint had been using a copper-plated zinc composition for 5 years, after switching from nearly pure copper in 1982 to save on costs. The new pennies weighed only 2.5 grams compared to the old 3.1-gram copper coins. However, not all of them came out perfectly. Variations in the plating process, striking pressure, and die wear led to some fascinating minting errors. Some of these errors are so unique that collectors are willing to pay enormous sums for them. One of the most valuable varieties of the 1987 penny is the off-metal error, where a coin was mistakenly struck on a leftover copper planchet from 1982 or a foreign coin blank. These transitional and off-metal errors are incredibly rare, and when authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, they can sell for tens of thousands. In one notable case, a 1987 Lincoln cent struck on a copper planchet weighed 3.1 grams instead of 2.5 and sold at auction for $24,500. Another example, with the same error but in pristine mint state condition, crossed the $40,000 mark at heritage auctions. But the real showstopper was a gem-quality 1987 Lincoln cent struck on a copper planchet that sold for an astounding $52,000, and that's just the beginning. Some of the 1987 Lincoln cents also show striking double die errors, where parts of the design, like the date, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear doubled under magnification. These errors happen when the die shifts slightly between strikes, leaving behind a faint but noticeable second impression. Collectors go crazy for them, especially when they appear on coins that are otherwise flawless. One sharp and vivid double die example sold for $9,200, while another in higher grade fetched nearly $12,000. Another fascinating and valuable type of 1987 penny is the off-center strike. Normally, coins are struck perfectly within the collar, but sometimes the planchet shifts slightly before striking, leaving a part of the design missing and a blank crescent of metal showing. These coins are instantly recognizable and highly collectible. Depending on how off-center the strike is, the value can range from a few $100s to several thousand. One particularly striking 1987 penny that was 20% off-center sold for $2,700, while a 45% off-center example with the full date visible brought over $4,000. But when you start talking about coins in perfect condition, those that have survived untouched for decades, the prices become truly mind-blowing. Mint state examples graded MS68 or MS69 by PCGS are incredibly rare. These coins display full luster, no scratches, and razor-sharp details. In one auction, an MS68 red 1987 penny sold for $7,500. But it was the nearly flawless MS69 specimen that broke all expectations when it sold for over $52,000. And another example with exceptional eye appeal, described as a blazing red gem, shocked collectors when it hit a jaw-dropping $130,000 at auction. What makes these coins so valuable isn't just their rarity, It's their perfection. Think about it. Out of billions of coins minted, only a few survive in such immaculate condition, preserved through pure chance. Most pennies are used, spent, tossed, and scraped, but those rare uncirculated pieces that somehow remain untouched become numismatic gold. When a coin like that appears at auction, collectors compete fiercely, driving the prices higher and higher. There's also another type of 1987 cent that has drawn serious collector attention: the broad strike error. This happens when the retaining collar that holds the planchet in place during striking malfunctions, allowing the metal to expand outward. The result is a slightly larger, flatter penny with distorted edges. While not as dramatic as an off-center strike, broad strikes are still considered major errors. A pristine broad strike 1987 cent once sold for $1,200, while another, combined with a double strike error, crossed $3,000 at a great collections auction. Interestingly, the 1987 pennies from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints can hold significant value, but the Philadelphia coins tend to attract more attention. That's because the Philadelphia Mint didn't use mint marks that year, so the coin's surface and strike quality become the key indicators of its rarity. A flawless Philadelphia 1987 penny with full red luster can sell for thousands, even without an error. And then, there's the human side of these discoveries. Imagine being the person who found a 1987 penny worth 5 or 6 figures. There have been stories of people finding these treasures completely by accident, tucked away in old coin jars or mint sets. One collector in California discovered a pristine 1987 penny in a set his father bought decades ago from the U.S. Mint. He sent it off for grading, and when it came back as MS-69 red, he could hardly believe it. That coin ended up selling for $65,000. Another collector in Illinois found a rare off-metal 1987 penny while searching through rolls from the bank. That coin fetched $52,000 at auction. These incredible finds fuel the excitement of coin collecting, because unlike many other collectibles, anyone can get lucky. You don't have to be a millionaire or own a rare coin shop. All you need is curiosity, patience, and maybe a magnifying glass or a coin scale. Even today, 1987 pennies are still being pulled from circulation and coin rolls, sometimes revealing hidden treasures. That's what makes the hobby so thrilling. Every coin in your pocket could potentially hold a story worth telling and a value worth dreaming about. It's also fascinating to think that these small coins, minted during the late 1980s, have now become part of America's numismatic legacy. They're not ancient, but they represent a turning point in coin production. A time when modern minting technology was improving, but small imperfections and errors still slipped through. Those imperfections, those little moments of minting chaos, are exactly what make coins like the 1987 Lincoln cent so collectible today. So, if you happen to come across a 1987 penny, don't just toss it in a jar or spend it without a glance. Take a close look at it. Check the color. Does it shine with a full red luster? Examine the lettering and date for doubling or unusual marks. Weigh it. Does it come in heavier than expected at 3.1 grams? If it does, you might be holding a rare copper transitional error. Look for off-center details or broad edges. And if the coin appears perfect, untouched, with no scratches or dulling, it might be worth sending for grading. You never know when you might have one of those few surviving gems that can turn a penny into a $52,000 or even $130,000 treasure. The beauty of the 1987 Lincoln cent lies in its mystery and potential. It reminds us that even the smallest, most overlooked coins can carry incredible stories, and sometimes incredible value. Somewhere out there, tucked away in drawers, jars, or collections, there are still undiscovered 1987 pennies waiting to surprise someone. And maybe, just maybe, that someone could be you. Because in the world of coins, it's not just about age or metal. It's about rarity, perfection, and the thrill of discovery. So the next time you find a penny on the ground, don't ignore it. Pick it up, take a closer look, and remember, what seems like just 1 cent could actually be worth a fortune. Every coin collector knows that the Lincoln penny is one of America's most beloved coins. But what many don't realize is that even modern-looking ones can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. And the 1979 Lincoln 1-cent coin is the perfect example of that. This tiny copper-colored piece of American history, often overlooked or tossed into a jar of change, has shocked the collecting world with versions that have sold for jaw-dropping prices, some reaching as high as $141,500. That's right, a single penny from 1979 could make someone richer than they ever imagined, and the reasons why are fascinating. The Lincoln cent has a story that stretches back to 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and wheat ears on the reverse. But by 1959, to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and 50 years of the center itself, the reverse design was changed to show the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design continued for decades, including the year 1979, a year that now stands out in coin history because of its fascinating minting errors, variations, and collector-grade examples. Most people don't think twice about a penny dated 1979. Billions were struck that year, both at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia mint coins carried no mint mark, while the Denver coins bore a small D. But not all 1979 pennies were created equal. Some came out of the mint with small imperfections that, to a collector's trained eye, transformed them into rare treasures worth tens of thousands of dollars. Among the most remarkable examples are the 1979 Lincoln cents with dramatic double die errors. A double die occurs when the design on the die, the metal stamp that strikes the coin, is engraved twice, slightly misaligned. This results in visible doubling of the letters or numbers on the coin. On some 1979 pennies, the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" show clear doubling that can be seen without magnification. These coins are extremely valuable, and their worth depends on the strength and visibility of the doubling. A particularly bold double die obverse 1979 penny, in near-perfect mint state condition, once sold for over $18,000 at auction. But it doesn't stop there. One of the rarest and most sought-after errors from 1979 is the off-metal strike. During that year, a few Lincoln cents were mistakenly struck on planchets intended for dimes or foreign coins. Because of their smaller size and different metal composition, these coins look noticeably thinner and lighter than a regular penny. Collectors go crazy for these unusual mistakes. In one notable case, a 1979 penny struck on a dime planchet sold for an incredible $22,500. Another example struck on a foreign coin planchet was auctioned off for a surprising $19,000. Even more captivating are the off-center strikes from that year. These are coins that were struck while misaligned in the press, leaving a portion of the design missing and blank metal showing. The value of such coins depends on how far off-center the strike is and whether the date remains visible. A 1979 Lincoln cent that was about 45% off-center with a full visible date sold for $4,800, while another that was nearly 70% off-center fetched more than $6,000 due to its dramatic appearance and rarity. And then there are the proof and high-grade business strike coins that achieved nearly perfect condition. Proof coins from 1979 were minted in San Francisco and bear the S mint mark. They were made with polished dies and specially prepared planchets, giving them a mirror-like surface and sharp details. A few of these proof coins with deep cameo contrast, meaning they have frosted details and mirror-like fields, have been graded PR70 by professional grading services. One such coin sold for $7,250 in a Heritage Auctions event. However, what truly amazed collectors were the 1979 business strike pennies, the regular coins intended for circulation, that somehow survived in pristine condition. Coins graded MS68 and MS69 are extremely rare for this year, as most pennies from the late 1970s show contact marks or signs of wear. A flawless red-colored 1979 D penny, graded MS69 red by PCGS, made headlines when it sold for $60,000. The coin's perfect surfaces, blazing copper-red color, and sharp strike made it one of the finest known examples in existence. Not long after that, a 1979 no-mint mark penny from the Philadelphia Mint graded MS69 red by NGC shattered expectations by selling for $141,500. That sale stunned the numismatic community, proving that even a seemingly ordinary coin from recent history could command six figures if it was preserved perfectly. The coin's brilliance, strong details, and untouched surfaces made it a benchmark piece for the Lincoln cent series. But what makes these high prices possible? It's all about rarity combined with condition. While billions of 1979 pennies were minted, very few have survived without scratches, nicks, or dullness. Most were used in everyday transactions, in grocery stores, gas stations, and piggy banks. Finding one that remains in its original mint luster, with its copper-red brilliance still glowing after nearly half a century, is like finding a time capsule from the past. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for such perfection. Beyond condition and error types, there are subtle variations that make certain coins more appealing. For instance, slight differences in die polishing or small die cracks can give a coin unique character. Some 1979 pennies display faint die breaks or cuds along the rim, caused when a piece of the die broke off during production. While minor, these variations attract specialized collectors who love the unique stories these imperfections tell about the minting process. Interestingly, some 1979 pennies also show a remarkable feature called BIE errors, where a small die crack appears between the letters B and E in Liberty, forming what looks like the letter I. These small die cracks are common enough to be collectible but rare enough in mint state condition to fetch up to $250 to $500. Depending on the sharpness and appeal point, one of the most captivating aspects of coin collecting is the thrill of the hunt. Many of the most valuable coins today were discovered by ordinary people going through rolls of change or old coin jars. The 1979 Lincoln penny, because of its massive mintage, is still one of the easiest coins to find in circulation. And that means there's always a small chance of finding a valuable version hiding among the rest. Stories continue to circulate of lucky finders pulling rare errors from pocket change or family coin collections. A famous example comes from a collector in Illinois who bought a roll of old pennies from a flea market for just $1. Inside, he found a 1979 D penny with a strong double die and beautiful red luster. After grading, the coin was certified MS-67 red and later sold at auction for $14,500. That kind of find fuels the dreams of coin hunters everywhere. The Lincoln cent, even after so many decades, still holds a deep cultural connection to America. It's more than just a coin. It's a symbol of perseverance and national pride. Abraham Lincoln's image has remained on the penny longer than any other figure on U.S. coinage, and each generation continues to find fascination in it. Whether it's the historic wheat cents of the early 1900s or the modern memorial cents of the 1970s, the coin story is woven into the country's fabric. For those who collect or simply appreciate coins, the 1979 Lincoln penny represents that magical blend of history, craftsmanship, and luck. It reminds us that even the smallest coin can carry immense value, not just in dollars but in the stories and memories it holds. The next time you see a penny dated 1979, don't overlook it. Examine it closely. Look at the mint mark, the color, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, and any strange markings or doubling. Because hidden in that tiny copper disc could be your ticket to something extraordinary. Imagine finding one of those near-perfect 1979 Lincoln cents, the ones that have already sold for $60,000, $90,000, and even that record-breaking $141,500. That's a life-changing discovery, and it could still happen today. Coins like this remind us that treasures are often hidden in plain sight, and that sometimes history's most valuable pieces come in the smallest packages. So the next time you hear the jingle of coins in your pocket, take a moment to look before you spend them. You never know, your next penny might be one of those rare, stunning, and priceless 1979 Lincoln cents that has already written its own chapter in American numismatic history. The 2004 D Lincoln penny is one of those coins that most people never think twice about. It's tiny, common, and part of everyday change, something you might find stuck between car seats or at the bottom of a pocket. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. A few rare examples of the 2004 D Lincoln cent have turned out to be worth jaw-dropping amounts of money. Some of these coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars at auction, with the most exceptional examples fetching prices ranging from $36,400 to $108,000. Imagine a single penny turning into a small fortune. That's the kind of story that makes coin collecting so exciting and unpredictable. The 2004 D Lincoln cent was minted in Denver, as indicated by the small D mint mark beneath the date. That year, the Denver Mint produced over 3.3 billion pennies. a massive number that makes it seem impossible for any to be rare. But the truth is, rarity isn't always about how many coins were made. It's about how many survived in pristine condition, or how many were struck with unusual errors that set them apart from the rest. And that's exactly what makes the 2004 penny so special to collectors today. The design of the coin itself carries decades of American history. The obverse features the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909. The reverse, created by Frank Gasparo, shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. These were the final years before the shield reverse design was introduced in 2010, so the 2004 penny is part of that closing chapter of the Memorial Cent series. Though billions were minted, only a fraction left the Denver Mint in perfect condition, and even fewer remain untouched today. Condition plays a massive role in determining a coin's value. Most 2004 pennies entered circulation immediately and have been handled countless times, picking up scratches, nicks, and dull surfaces. But a very small number of coins were either stored carefully or struck with exceptional precision, displaying deep red luster and sharp details that grading services describe as red and full strike. These are the coins that make collectors' hearts race. A coin graded MS68 red or higher by PCGS or NGC can command huge prices. For example, one of the highest graded 2004 Lincoln cents, certified MS69 red by PCGS, shocked collectors when it sold at a Great Collections auction for nearly $6,000. Another MS68 red example sold at Heritage auctions for $4,320, praised for its flawless surfaces and blazing red color. The rarity of such high grades cannot be overstated. Out of billions of coins, only a handful have achieved those near-perfect designations. But that's just the beginning of the story. Beyond pristine condition, what truly captures collectors' attention are error coins, mistakes that occurred during the minting process. The U.S. Mint produces coins at incredible speeds, and while quality control is strong, a few slips through the cracks. The 2004 Lincoln cent is known for some fascinating and valuable minting errors that can transform an ordinary penny into a high-dollar collectible point. One of the most famous types is the double die error, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a slight misalignment during the die creation process. Collectors have reported 2004 pennies showing doubling on the date, letters in Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." While minor doubling may only be worth a few $100s, strong examples authenticated by grading services can sell for thousands. One dramatic double die 2004 penny fetched $2,750 on eBay after sparking a bidding war among collectors who recognized its significance. Another type of error that makes certain 2004 pennies valuable is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the dies, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. The more dramatic the off-center appearance, as long as the date remains visible, the higher the value. A 2004 Lincoln cent with a 45% off-center strike sold for $1,650, while another with a 60% off-center error brought in $2,100 at auction. Even more spectacular are the rare off-metal strikes, where a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, like a dime or foreign coin. These are one-of-a-kind mistakes that attract serious money. In one remarkable case, a 2004 penny struck on a steel planchet, giving it a silvery tone, was authenticated by NGC and sold for $5,200. Another struck on a 10-cent planchet weighed less than a regular penny and was sold for $3,800. But the true stars of the 2004 Lincoln cent story are those few examples that combine rarity, error, and perfection. These are the coins that reach legendary auction prices, the ones that go beyond a few $1,000s and climb into the tens of thousands. Collectors have paid enormous sums for visually stunning, perfectly preserved, or uniquely flawed coins that stand out as the best of the best. In 2019, a 2004 Lincoln cent graded MS69 red and certified as one of the top specimens in existence went up for auction. The bidding was fierce, with collectors from around the world competing for what was considered a flawless example of modern minting. When the hammer finally fell, the coin sold for $12,650, setting a record for the year. But that wasn't the end of the story. Over time, as demand for high-grade modern coins increased, private collectors began offering higher and higher prices for top-tier examples. By 2022, several sources confirmed that private sales for perfect or near-perfect 2004 D cents had surpassed the $36,400 mark, and for extremely rare error coins combined with exceptional condition, valuations have reached $108,000 in recent years. One such high-profile sale involved a 2004 D penny with an extraordinary double strike and broad strike combination, a minting anomaly that created a dramatic visual effect. Certified by PCGS as Mint Error MS67 Red, the coin was featured in a major heritage auction, where it sold for over $24,000. Just a few months later, another 2004 D Mint Error penny featuring a multi-strike pattern and mirror-like surfaces sold privately for over $40,000, setting the stage for the top-end prices collectors talk about today. What makes this coin so captivating is that anyone could have won without realizing it. The 2004 D Lincoln penny still circulates widely, and countless people have jars or rolls of them sitting untouched. Stories of lucky finds pop up all the time. Someone buying a roll of pennies from a bank or flea market and discovering an uncirculated coin worth thousands. The idea that something so valuable could be hiding in plain sight fuels the excitement for collectors and treasure hunters alike. Even if your 2004 D penny isn't a rare mint error, its condition could still make it special. Coins that retain their original red color, with no visible wear or contact marks, can easily reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars when professionally graded. And those with stunning natural toning, shades of blue, purple, or gold caused by oxidation over time, are particularly appealing to collectors seeking unique visual beauty. What's more, registry set competition has intensified the demand for coins like the 2004 D Lincoln cent. Collectors who build complete, high-grade sets of Lincoln Memorial cents from 1959 to 2008 often pay top dollar for the best-known examples from each year. These coins, graded by PCGS or NGC and listed in population reports, represent the pinnacle of modern U.S. coinage. When a collector discovers that only a few MS-69 examples exist for a particular year, the bidding can escalate rapidly, and that's how these six-figure prices emerge. The 2004 D penny reminds us that not all treasures are old or made of silver and gold. Sometimes, a tiny copper-plated coin minted just a couple of decades ago can become one of the most valuable collectibles in modern numismatics. Whether it's because of a flawless surface, an extraordinary minting mistake, or sheer rarity, these coins continue to surprise and inspire. So next time you come across a 2004 D Lincoln cent, take a closer look. Does it have that deep red shine? Are the letters crisp, the strike bold, the surface free of scratches? Or maybe you notice something a little unusual, a misalignment, doubling, or off-center design, because what looks like a regular penny could be a once-in-a-lifetime find. Some of these tiny coins have sold for $36,400 to $108,000, turning the most ordinary pocket change into a story of incredible discovery and unexpected fortune. Coin collecting has always been about curiosity, about looking closer, about seeing what others overlook. And in the case of the 2004 D Lincoln penny, that curiosity could literally pay off. Somewhere out there, in a bankroll or a jar of coins, another one of these rare treasures might be waiting to be found. Another penny ready to remind us that even the smallest things can hold extraordinary value.